Thank you. All set. Just put it like this.
So just can I advance this?
Sure.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Good evening.
Closer.
Good evening.
Closer.
Closer.
Yes. To be right on it. Exactly.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here for the Long Bridge Project meeting. I'm Meredith Judy with the Virginia Passenger Rail Authority. We're here to talk about Long Bridge Project construction and what to expect during construction for those people who live, work, and travel in the Southwest. We also want to talk with you about ways to stay in touch with us throughout the construction process and ways that we'll be pushing out and providing information to the public throughout that time period. We'll start with a presentation and then we'll follow up with a question and answer session. You can ask your question to the group. You can fill out a comment card that's available at the sign-in desk, or you can write in the chat to ask a question. So we look forward to having that discussion with you. Let's start with some introductions. As I said, I'm Meredith Judy. I'm the Community Affairs Manager with Virginia Passenger Rail Authority, and I have several members of our project team here. Start on the end.
Good evening. I'm Scott Crumley with I'm the design manager for the project with the BPRA's consultant team.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ian Langham. I'm project manager for Long Bridge with BPRA.
Hi, good evening. My name is Naomi Klein. I'm the senior planning manager at BPRA.
Hi, my name is Patrice Brooks. I'm with TBNA. I'm a part of the Community Affairs and Outreach team. Thank you for coming this evening.
Project I'll turn around. My name is Tom O'Rourke. I'm the project manager for the contractor at Skanska Flatiron joint venture.
Michael?
Mike Brown here, design build team, design manager.
I'm also from the back, Bjorn Gudmundsson with the Skanska Flatiron team, design integration manager.
And did we get everybody? Okay. All right. I will let Naomi start off the presentation for us.
Okay. Make this work.
Guys will have to give me a second because I'm short. Just adjust it. All right. Now I can't tell what I look like online, so I'm going to assume people can see me. Okay, great. All right. Sure. Thank you. All right, so we have our agenda up, introductions done. I'm going to talk to you about.
Yeah, speak up a little bit.
Sure. Let me.
Sorry.
That's okay. How's that?
Yes.
Good? Okay, great. I'm going to talk about the Virginia Passenger Rail Authority, who we are, and then I'm going to talk about the Long Bridge Project, and then I'm going to hand it off to Scott, who's going to talk more about construction and maintenance of traffic during the project. So we are the Virginia Passenger Rail Authority. Who are we? We were created in 2020 by the Virginia General Assembly. We are a government entity, but we are an independent authority, which means that rather than report to the governor, we report to a 15-member board of directors. We're responsible for expanding and promoting passenger and commuter rail. And so we are not a railroad operator. We do not run trains, but what we're responsible for is really building the tracks and the structures that will allow us to expand passenger rail, both in Virginia and in DC through the Northeast Corridor. And I'm going to go into that right now. So this just shows you the Virginia Passenger Rail Network. We have 4 state-supported Amtrak routes, 8 daily round trips, 5 Amtrak long-distance round trips, 1 North Carolina state-supported round trip, and then for VRE, we have 32 trains a day, 16 in Manassas and 16 in Fredericksburg. So what you see here is a map of all of our projects. So we have many projects between Washington, D.C. to Richmond. And what we're looking to do really is to separate passenger rail from freight rail so that we can run more passenger trains. We are looking at the capacity, and as people know, as the population grows, people are coming for more jobs. We want more ways for people to be able to get to where they're going, to get to work, to get to entertainment without having to drive. So the new service that we're unlocking includes new Amtrak and VRE round trips, which would include late night and weekend service on VRE that's not currently available. And then future capacity for 3 new Amtrak round trips and 2 additional VRE trips. So you can see many projects here, but the one we're here to talk about today is the Long Bridge project. So this is the Long Bridge project area. It starts, I'm going to start from left to right in Arlington by the Long Bridge Aquatic Center. It then goes and crosses over the GW Parkway and the Mount Vernon Trail, over the Potomac River, over East Potomac Park, over I-395, over the Washington Channel, over Main Avenue, through the Maryland Avenue overbuild, and then ends at LE Interlocking. And interlocking is just a railroad term where a bunch of tracks converge that allow trains to move from one side to the other. But LE Interlocking is just south of L'Enfant Station. So while we call it the Long Bridge, it's actually a series of bridges, the largest being the bridge across the Potomac River. The existing Long Bridge right now is 2 tracks. The new bridge that we're building across the Potomac River will be 2 tracks, and the existing bridge will remain in place, continue to be owned by CSX, while Virginia will own the other 2 tracks. And so what that allows us to do is really separate freight from passenger. Why that is so important. Right now, everything that comes up the East Coast pretty much has to go across this bridge. And this bridge is shared by VRE, Amtrak, and CSX. So all the freight and shipping, all the VRE trains and all the Amtrak trains essentially travel over this 2-track bridge. And south of here, there are 3 tracks in Alexandria. North at Union Station, going up the northeast, are 4 tracks. So this 2-track bridge really does become a pinch point where everything converges. And so by building another 2 tracks, what we do is we allow freight to run more, which will take trucks off the road, and allow passenger trains to run more often. So that is just a little bit about the project. In addition, something that people have been very interested about, in addition to the rail bridge, this project will also build a dedicated bike pedestrian bridge across the Potomac River. That bike pedestrian bridge will connect the Long Bridge Aquatic Center and Long Bridge Park Trail, the Mount Vernon Trail on the Virginia side, with the bike lanes in East Potomac Park at Ohio Drive on the DC side. It will be a 16-foot bridge that will be completely separate, its own structure for bikes and pedestrians. So that will be a really nice facility, and you'll see more of that in this presentation. So this is just another visual of the project. It shows you that we're working in a very constrained space. From left to right, you've got the 14th Street Highway Bridge, the WMATA Yellow Line Bridge. Then we are fitting our 2 new bridges in between the existing WMATA Yellow Line Bridge and the existing Long Bridge. So the bike pedestrian bridge and then also the new Long Bridge. So you can see there's a lot of structures in a pretty small space here. And then on the right-hand side are just some facts about the project. So this slide is showing you how we're going to construct the project. Because of the size, it's being split into 2, while it is one project, it's being split into 2 packages for the purposes of construction. There's a south package and a north package. So tonight we're here to talk about the north package, but the south package is responsible for everything across the Potomac River. So starting in Arlington, both the bike pedestrian bridge and the new 2-track rail bridge that go over the George Washington Memorial Parkway and Mount Vernon Trail and over the Potomac River. The south package ends at the abutment in East Potomac Park by Ohio Drive that is closest to the water. The north package then picks up there and continues the project, essentially everything that is in the district. So all of the infrastructure through East Potomac Park, over the Washington Channel over Main Avenue and through the Maryland Avenue overbuild to LE interlocking. So the North package is a progressive design build contract, and that design builder came online a little over almost a year and a half ago. We are entering early works construction packages, so we're not, when I say early works construction, we're not building any of this infrastructure yet, but what we're doing is some work that will help lay the groundwork for that future construction. And that's starting really right now and then through early next year. The South package, the design builder, came on board January of this year, and construction is estimated to start in the middle summer of next year. So this is a project scheduled to show you where we've been and where we are now. This project has been coming for a long time, so hopefully for a lot of you, you have heard of it before, but if this is your first time hearing of the project, welcome, probably won't be your last. So we started this project in 2011. It was actually led by the district, by DDOT, the District Department of Transportation, with grants from the Federal Railroad Administration, FRA. And so through those studies and a lot of public involvement is how we got to the options where we are now with a new 2-track rail bridge, the existing bridge staying in place, and a new bicycle pedestrian bridge. That's essentially what the what we looked at in 2011 were those options. We completed our environmental analysis, which is known in shorthand as NEPA, the National Environmental Thank you. National Environmental Policy, and we completed that in the fall of 2020. At that time, when the document was signed by Federal Railroad Administration and NPS, it was transferred over to VPRA to finish the design and construct. So we are in that final box from 2023 to 2030, where we are acquiring land, obtaining permits, finalizing design, and then beginning construction. This just shows you that there are a lot of cooks in this proverbial kitchen. We coordinate with many, many stakeholders because we are in the DC region, both federal, district, and Virginia partners. We're also coordinating with all of the rail operators, Amtrak, VRE, and CSX. So you can see DDOT here, DC Office of Planning. We also work with our partners who look at the aesthetic and historic nature of the project, the Commission of Fine Arts and the National Capital Planning Commission. Much of this project is constructed on National Park Service land, so we work very closely with NPS, and then also private property owners who are adjacent to the project, especially the Washington Marina and the businesses on the Maryland Avenue overbuild. So that's just a few of the many stakeholders listed on this slide. This project adds a lot of value for the district. The estimated value is $300 million. Obviously, one of the biggest added values is the new bicycle pedestrian bridge over the Potomac River. But additionally, there are some of the other bridges that are that exist today have poor vertical and horizontal clearance. They wouldn't meet today's standards. And so we're improving some of those heights and those clearances, which means better movement for trucks or large vehicles that are passing through the district and less of a chance of bridge strikes. We're also installing more security features, so corridor-wide fencing, security lighting, upgraded crash walls, and an improved fender system. Additionally, there is a new pedestrian bridge over Main Avenue, which we'll talk a little more about in detail, and we're upgrading that to be ADA accessible, which it is not today. And then improving the 14th Street off-ramp and also improving the sidewalk width near that off-ramp along Main Avenue. This is another timeline that, while the previous timeline started back in 2011, this one is a little more detailed starting from when VPRA took over in 2022. So it shows you that from 2022 to the end of 2023 was when we completed our preliminary engineering. We started our final design at the end of 2023, and we plan to complete our final design, and this is for Long Bridge North, towards the end of this year, and then construction is approximately 5 years from the end of this year when we're doing the early works through 2030. This is another visual just showing you how confined of a space that we are working in. So you can see on the right-hand side, we have the existing Long Bridge, the new 2-track bridge that we are building. To the left of that is the bicycle pedestrian bridge. There's also a ramp that will come down from that bridge to meet the Mount Vernon Trail. So you see that next to it. And then the existing WMATA Yellow Line Bridge. So again, we are fitting a lot of infrastructure into a pretty small space. These are some renderings that show you the existing structure and the proposed new structure. So on the top, you can see that is the existing Long Bridge, and then on the bottom is a rendering of what the new 2-track bridge, rail bridge, will look like next to the existing bridge. And these visuals have been coordinated very closely with the Commission of Fine Arts, CFA, and the National Capital Planning Commission, NCPC, along with other stakeholders. This is the Main Avenue Rail Bridge. One thing that I did not go over previously is once you are in East Potomac Park and you cross, the project crosses over I-395, the space that we have to work in is so constrained that we cannot build a structure separate from the existing structure. So what we will have to do is demolish the existing structure and then rebuild a new 4-track structure. So that's what you're seeing here at Main Avenue, that there's an existing 2 tracks that will have to be removed in order to build a new 4-track rail bridge here. One of the benefits of the project is that there is a portion of the sidewalk on Main Avenue that has to narrow down to currently 11 feet. And the reason for that is because the bridge abutment for the rail bridge is in the way of being able to widen that sidewalk. Because we are building a new bridge abutment, we are going to be able to pull that back and allow the sidewalk to be widened to 24 feet. Why that is such an improvement is because this is part of the Anacostia River Walk Trail, and so it's used by both a large number of cyclists and pedestrians. And so this is just one of many improvements of the project for the district. This is showing you the new bicycle pedestrian bridge. The image on the top shows you an aerial view. The image on the bottom shows you a view from on the bridge. And then you can see to the right the existing bike pedestrian path. It is attached to the 14th Street Highway Bridge, and it's only about 7.5 feet in width. The new bike pedestrian bridge will be 16 feet wide, so more than double that width, and also a completely separate facility. So it will have, it will be a much better experience for users than the current path. This shows you the existing bicycle pedestrian network in the district in Virginia and how the new bike pedestrian bridge that we're building is really a critical link connecting to many park facilities and other bike paths. So these are some renderings of the different landings of the bike pedestrian bridge. This is one landing on the Virginia side at Long Bridge Park in Arlington, and we've coordinated this very closely with Fairfax County Parks, where it will tie in with their trail. And this is the connection at the Mount Vernon Trail, which we've coordinated very closely with MPS. And what you can see in the rendering is that we have a ramp down that allows it to be ADA accessible, but for people who want a shorter route, there are also stairs on the other side that will then bring you down to the Mount Vernon Trail and will allow you to connect into that facility. And this is the landing on the DC side. So this is going to connect into the bike lanes on Ohio Drive.
Finish this meeting.
And sorry about that. So this is going to connect into the bike lanes on Ohio Drive. And for anybody who saw some of the original designs of this bike ped bridge, one of the original designs we had switchback ramps on either side. We had gotten feedback from the bicycle community that they did not feel that that was user friendly. And so you can see that these landings tie directly in without making people essentially go back and forth. And we got really positive feedback from cyclists and walkers on this change. So this just talks about the pedestrian bridge over Main Avenue. This is an aerial view. It's a little hard to see on this slide, but essentially there's a pedestrian bridge over Main Avenue. It is privately owned by the businesses on the Maryland Avenue overbuild. That pedestrian bridge was previously a rail bridge that brought you to a rail yard that used to exist where the Maryland Avenue overbuild now exists. And when the overbuild was developed, it was converted into a pedestrian bridge. Unfortunately, that bridge lies exactly where the two new tracks need to be put for the rail structure. And so that bridge has to be taken down and rebuilt. Here's where you can see the design of the new 4-track rail bridge, and then right next to it is where we are going to put the replacement Main Avenue pedestrian bridge. So on the left, you'll see that's the existing pedestrian bridge. You can see how it comes right up to the 2 rail tracks, which is why it cannot remain in place when we construct the project. And then there's a view from the existing bridge. This is a rendering of the new Main Avenue pedestrian bridge. So the current bridge only has stairs, so it is not accessible. This new bridge, we will have both a ramp and stairs, and we've coordinated this design very closely with the owners of the bridge over many years. Additionally, in order to put in this new bridge, it does require us to take a small sliver of land from the Washington Marina parking lot. However, we will be reconfiguring that parking lot to make use of the space so that they have the same number of parking spaces that they have today. And these are just more renderings from different angles of the new 4-track rail bridge and then the replacement bridge over Main Avenue. And this just shows you a cross-section of what it will look like. It's going to have planter beds on either side, which is what it has today, and it will be wider than the existing bridge. So what's happening now? So we have some pre-construction activities. I alluded to that through the early works packages. So we're doing some archaeological testing, vibration monitoring, borings, test piles. Essentially what we're doing is some ground penetrating activities that allow us to inform the design for construction to understand how the bridge needs to be built in order to be structurally sound. We're doing some early clearing of trees and brush, and we're working on our maintenance of traffic plan, which is coordinated very closely with DDOT. So additionally, we have regular stakeholder coordination that is ongoing. We meet monthly and sometimes weekly with these stakeholders, CSX, VRE, Amtrak, DDOT, the National Park Service, and the adjacent property owners. These are all stakeholders that we meet with regularly, and then of course we meet with other stakeholders on specific issues or when there is the need for that. And a lot of the topics that we discuss on a regular basis with regular standing meetings with these stakeholders are traffic analysis, travel, noise and vibration, the structures themselves and the design of them, utilities, inspection and permit, special event, and public outreach. Okay, now I think I'm turning it over to Scott Crumley. Thanks, Scott.
Okay, sibilance. Good evening. Yeah, thank you, Naomi. Naomi covered a lot of great material there and the number of stakeholders that we have been coordinating with, especially over the past couple of years. That coordination has certainly intensified. We wanted to hone in now on the specific impacts to Maiden Lane and Main Avenue. And in a nutshell, what this graphic conveys is that there will be continued and sustained impacts on both these roadways from later this year through 2030. So let me share some additional details and of course the mitigation steps that we're taking to minimize impacts. So first, Maiden Lane. There will need to be a closure of Maiden Lane here that is shown in orange, and I'm trying to use my mouse here to show that area there kind of at the bottom of the screen. That area of Maiden Lane will need to be closed for construction of what Naomi just mentioned.
Could you maybe clarify where Maiden Lane is?
Sure. Just for perspective, on the left side of the screen is the 14th Street US 1 roadway. Main Avenue is in the bottom left corner of this screen right here. This is the Maryland overbuild, the Maryland where the Portals buildings are.
We're going over to
and the Salamander
maybe
Hotel
meet some
is
friends,
where my
and then
cursor is
for
at
work
this
friends,
point,
and
kind of on the
then
bottom
just the food, and we'll
center
come back
of
home and
this
eat.
graphic right here. So Maiden Lane actually diverges off of westbound Main Avenue and currently services the Portals 5 building here, their loading dock, as well as their garage entrance here. And it's currently a one-way operation going northbound up towards D Street. But during construction, again, this portion of Maiden Lane and Orange will be closed. And the portion of Maiden Lane north of that will be converted to a two-way operation that's shown here in this graphic here. So access will still be maintained to the 1331 garage entrance as well as the loading dock, but it will be maintained only from D Street, only from this area here, and two-way traffic will exist along Maiden Lane. There will be some parking spaces that are removed for construction down in this area, but I just want to emphasize that there will be uninterrupted access to the garage area here and the loading dock for 1331. Secondly, I wanted to provide an overview of the Main Avenue construction areas and the schedule. In the upper left graphic here is what we're calling westbound construction. You can see here 14th Street is on the left side of the graphic. Main Avenue runs from the left side to the right. You can see the diverge of Maiden Lane here, right near the Salamander Hotel, as well as the existing pedestrian bridge over Main Avenue. So this westbound construction zone is what's shown here in dark green. This is kind of the northern side of this area. The eastbound construction area is basically the inverse of that. It will be on the southern side of Main Avenue, and that's shown here by the lighter green or teal color. What we tried to do here schedule-wise was to associate the colors with the approximate time frames of when these phases would be under construction. So if you look at the dark green zone here in the upper left box, you look down at the schedule, you can see that construction will start in this area later here in 25 and run until approximately spring of 2026, where then we will flip and implement the eastbound construction zone. And you see that will be in place here shown in this lighter green color until early 2028, where then we will convert back to the westbound construction zone, and that will run for approximately a year until 2029. Then we'll convert back to the eastbound construction zone. So we're flip-flopping in order to construct that very complex Main Avenue rail bridge that Naomi talked about, as well as the new pedestrian bridge over Main Avenue. So that's a big picture. We have more details, but wanted to start with an overview. Our goal, big picture, is safe access for motorists, bicyclists, and pedestrians. So when we think about constructing the project, and especially here in Main Avenue and Maiden Lane, our goal is safe access for all those modes of travel, while maintaining access to motorists on Main Avenue, the Salamander Hotel, of course, all the Portals development, the marina operations, as well as accommodating the rail and freight traffic that use the rail corridor. And our goal all along is to streamline construction and minimize impact. So I'll talk about some more details here moving forward, but that is our goal, is safe access. There will be a need for occasional nighttime lane closures and some weekend detours. Like I mentioned, Maiden Lane will be closed, and that's really to maximize safety during construction. The northbound 14th Street ramp that you may be familiar with, it travels northbound and you can exit there at Main Avenue. That will be closed for limited periods throughout construction. But to emphasize, pedestrian access will be maintained across Main Avenue throughout construction. It does require a temporary pedestrian bridge, but access will always be maintained from the Salamander Hotel over towards the marina parking lot area. So to get in a little more granular detail here, wanted to tease out some details for each of the construction areas here. This slide here shows the westbound construction traffic pattern. And I'll start with you can see 14th Street in the bottom left of the slide here. Main Avenue kind of runs from bottom left to upper right. The existing pedestrian bridge is noted here. And in this traffic pattern, there'll be 2 eastbound travel lanes as there is today, and pedestrian traffic will be maintained as it is today. Along the westbound Main Avenue movement, there will still be 2 lanes, but you'll notice that there's no pedestrian access on this side. So I'll have some additional slides that share details about that. But in summary, there's 2 travel lanes provided in each direction, and pedestrians will be maintained where they currently are on the south side of Main Avenue. The eastbound construction traffic pattern still maintains 2 lanes westbound that you see here in orange. However, that rightmost travel lane will utilize a portion of Maiden Lane while they go under the railroad tracks, and then they will be directed to rejoin westbound Main Avenue up towards Independence Avenue. So if you're going to westbound Independence, there'll still be 2 lanes like there is today. There'll just be a rerouting of this travel lane here. In the eastbound direction, that will be reduced to 1 travel lane during this construction phase. Pedestrian traffic will still be maintained, but in a different location along those eastbound travel lanes. And there will be barrier and other demarcations between vehicular traffic and pedestrian traffic along the eastbound roadway. So here's some more detail on the pedestrian and bicycle accessibility. As shown here in the upper left graphic, this is for the westbound work zone here, again shown in dark green. Pedestrian access will be maintained, as you see here in this dotted pink line, along the south side of Main Avenue. That goes right by the marina parking lot and so forth. Pedestrians on the other side of Main Avenue will be routed around the work area, again for safety reasons. And if you look at the graphic on the right, pedestrians will be directed up to D Street, where they will follow appropriate detour signs over to 12th Street. This graphic on the right side does show where the approximate sidewalk close signs would be, but there will still be, of course, access to the Salamander Hotel from this area here. And the graphic in the bottom left, again, shows that continuous pedestrian access along the eastbound lanes of Main Avenue. So access is still provided, albeit a little more circuitous for pedestrians on the north side of Main Avenue. So for the eastbound construction phase, for the light green or the teal color here, you can see pedestrian and bicycle access will still be maintained along the eastbound travel lanes. Again, it'll be routed around construction traffic. And again, for pedestrians on the other side of the roadway, they will be routed up to D Street and over to 12th Street. Access will always be 8 feet wide at all times. And along this eastbound roadway here, the pedestrian bicycle access will actually double during the cherry blossom season. As Naomi mentioned, it's part of the Anacostia Riverwalk Trail, and we're intimately familiar with the increase in bike and pedestrian traffic during the cherry blossom season. So the bike pedestrian capacity will double during that season. So here's a summary of both the westbound construction phase here in the left graphic, shown in dark green. The lines shown on this graphic specify the number of travel lanes. So the red are the westbound Main Avenue travel lanes. The lines shown in purple here are the eastbound Main Avenue travel lanes. I hope no one's colorblind. And then pedestrian traffic is shown as this bottom line here along the eastbound travel lanes. The eastbound construction phase, shown here in light green, again, will maintain 2 lanes westbound, albeit one of them kind of relocated to where Maiden Lane is today. And there will be 1 lane eastbound on Main Avenue. And you can see here in the magenta where pedestrian access is maintained. There are a number of work zone mitigation measures that go into the planning of this sort of complex project. And we've listed a few here, and it really starts with a comprehensive transportation management plan that really looks at all facets of constructing the project, the phasing of how to maintain traffic, how to maintain bicycle, pedestrian access. It analyzes the impacts of all those details and then develops a streamlined and minimized way to complete the work. So that's number one, and the design builder, of course, has completed the first version of that, and it's a living document that's regularly and routine updated as conditions change and as more information becomes available. Throughout this whole process, we've been in very close coordination with DDOT. That's one of the entities that we have weekly coordination meetings to talk about various submittals, upcoming efforts, and we will continue that all throughout construction to make sure that we're in lockstep with them on signal timing and all the rest as we manage this construction project. They've also developed a traffic incident management plan to streamline responses throughout construction. They'll be monitoring and will be monitoring traffic operations and safety. They'll be reviewing the work zone setups, noting any crashes in the work zone, of course monitoring queue lengths and travel times. And again, we'll be in close contact with DDOT to request signal timing changes. And then, of course, acquiring traffic data throughout construction so we can be proactive in trying to minimize work zone impacts. Obviously, this is part of our proactive public outreach efforts. And I did want to share we have an ongoing adjacent project and special event meeting where we work with over 15 adjacent projects to the Long Bridge project. So we hold regular meetings and coordinate on design issues, construction issues, and make sure that we're minimizing impacts throughout the corridor. And I think I'm gonna hand it over to Ian to talk about construction mitigation.
All right, good evening again. Yeah, so we recognize and understand construction will cause impacts to the community, and we are committed to mitigating and minimizing those impacts as best that we can. The project will adhere to the district's noise ordinance. And one of the ways that we will do that is to monitor noise levels to ensure that construction activities remain within those levels, right? We've got some other items that we'll use in order to maintain noise underneath those ordinances. One of which is using backup alarms that regulate the volume based on ambient noise, the noise in the environment. And then we'll also make every effort to do daytime work, limiting the night work where we're able to avoid the noise and also other safety concerns. Again, we're going to monitor the noise levels throughout construction. We'll also utilize whisper quiet generators, which every piece of equipment that we can get it to be as quiet as possible helps. And we'll also employ drilling in order to build deep foundation elements rather than using impact hammer techniques. And then we'll also monitor vibration in order to protect the adjacent buildings to the project. All right, next I'll jump into boating impacts. Primarily here this evening to speak about the North Package, but we'll also get into some impacts of South Package along the Potomac River. But first, in the Washington Channel, upcoming work, really we're kind of open for the remainder of this year, nothing planned there. But it is important for us to let you know that the Washington Marina right adjacent to the project area will remain open, as well as a portion of that parking area. So those impacts will follow in later years. The Washington Channel will remain open. It's just we're working at the very end of it towards the tidal basin. In the Potomac River, again, that is part of the South Package. The navigation channel will remain open throughout the course of the project, but also understand that navigation channel may change to an adjacent channel next to the one that's there currently today. We'll utilize buoys in order to ensure that boaters are able to navigate the work areas, basically cordon off where we're building. But we'll also utilize no wake zones in both locations. All right, with that, I'll pass it back to Meredith.
Okay, as we wrap up, we just want to make sure that you know how we will be continuing to push out information to the public over the course of this construction project, and how you can continue to communicate and give us feedback throughout the project. We will use our website quite a lot. It's already a robust website. We will announce all of the construction activities that are going on through both written announcements on the website, but also a construction disruptions map, which is an interactive component of our website. So you'll be able to go in and see how your travel might be impacted by activities that are going on related to this project. We encourage you to sign up for our newsletter. We have a QR code here. You could just scan it right now and sign up for our newsletter, but we will be continuously pushing information out through email updates. Social media is a great way to follow us. We will have portable message signs on site. We'll be issuing traffic advisories through DDOT and National Park Service, and we'll be using a press release methods to get for major events. So we have a lot of different ways that we're sending information out. You can pick the information strategy that's best for you, but I do encourage you to sign up for this email list. That will be a great way to keep up with us. And then, of course, we'll continue with our ongoing outreach methods of community meetings, door-to-door outreach. We've established a community advisory group with representatives from residential communities, the business community, advocacy groups, elected officials, and their staffers that we meet with quarterly to make sure that we are sending information, the latest information out to the public, and then asking those individuals to bring back to us what they're hearing in their communities. So we look forward to keeping in touch with you. Thank you for being here tonight, and now we'll open it up for questions. Patrice is going to facilitate our questions. You can raise your hand. You can ask questions in the text chat if you are online. And of course, there's the cards in the back that you can fill out for us.
All right. Thanks, Meredith. So I'll get started with, we have a question in the chat. How will you fit 4 tracks into the district going northbound? Will there be 4 tracks at least through the L'Enfant Plaza? How will you squeeze 2 additional tracks once you cross the Potomac River into the tunnel? Does it involve removing the highway off ramp US 1? So that was a pretty long question. I can reread it. Naomi, Ian, anyone want to? Look, I'll let you see it.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thanks for the question. It will be tight. There, as we were trying to convey, it's a very constrained rail corridor. That's why we are having to reconstruct the rail bridge over Main Avenue. But there will be 4 tracks that continue over Main Avenue that go into the tunnel, or what we call the Maryland Overbuild. We're actually going to be using the westmost portal that isn't used a whole lot underneath the Maryland Overbuild in order to get 4 tracks through there. And then VRE is constructing a project at L'Enfant Station to widen that from 3 tracks to 4 tracks. So at the conclusion of both projects, there will be 4 continuous rail tracks across the Potomac River, through the Maryland Overbuild, through the tunnel, to L'Enfant Station. Did you want to add? The 14th Street ramp was the other question. So our project doesn't involve removing that ramp, but because of the construction that occurs along that ramp, it will be temporarily closed for periods. But at the end of our project, it will be reopened. So that northbound ramp from Route 1 or 14th Street to Main Avenue, that's the ramp we're talking about, where you can go east, make a right turn on Main Avenue. That will ultimately be reopened at the end of construction. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you.
Did you want to, was there anything I missed? Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and answer a question in the comments. If you do have a question, just raise your hand. Just raise your hand, and Keith will come around with a microphone. So if we're recording the meeting, and we also have people online. So we just want you to say your question really loud and clear so everyone can hear it. We will try to repeat it. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. This is an odd and anomalous project in many ways. Here you have a Virginia government agency doing a project in the District of Columbia. Am I correct? It's partly, but not entirely, on federal land. Some of it is land that's not under the federal government's control. So will the agency itself be the builder, or will the builder be or will the construction be outsourced to a contractor who would then be directly responsible to the District of Columbia or the federal government while the contractor is on federal or DC land? And this is a huge project. Are all phases being done at once? Meaning all the stuff you've described on this side of the river, plus the 2 new bridges, plus the connections on the Virginia side, and maybe even the 4th track on the Virginia. Are all those being done at once, or are they being done by the same construction crew in sequence?
So, great question. There were a lot of pieces to it, so I'm going to try to answer all of them. So the first one is that VPRA is the project owner, But we do have 2 design build teams. One is, we split the project into 2 pieces for the purposes of construction. One is a south package, and what that will construct is the bicycle pedestrian bridge across the Potomac River and over the George Washington Memorial Parkway and Mount Vernon Trail. And then the south package will also construct the 2-track rail bridge across the Potomac River. Then when those bridges end in East Potomac Park, that is where the north construction package picks up and continues all the way to LE Interlocking south of L'Enfant. So there are two builders that work for VPRA to construct the project. Now, to your question about the project being on federal land, so that's a very interesting question. So a couple of things. One is that there is actually federal legislation that will allow the National Park Service to transfer the land needed to build this project directly to VPRA or to the district. One thing that I may not have mentioned in my presentation is that DDOT will own, the District Department of Transportation, will own the bicycle pedestrian bridge, while VPRA will own the rail bridge. So while we will construct the bike ped bridge, at the end of the project, DDOT will own and maintain that bridge. But back to your question of how do these design builders coordinate with the federal entities and the National Park Service? A lot of that, so we had that slide that talked about kind of our regular ongoing coordination. That includes both with the district and with the National Park Service. And a lot of that oversight is going to happen via permits. So we obviously will need to obtain permits from the National Park Service in order to perform this work. And then we have many standards that will govern that work is done. There are sets of railroad standards that the construction will be held to. So I think that answered some of your question, maybe not all of it. Were there some pieces that you have follow-up on?
Simultaneous.
Oh, simultaneous, thank you, the phases. So, so the schedules for the north and south are independent, but there will be some overlap where there will be construction happening over the Potomac River at the same time that it is happening on the north package through East Potomac Park and to LE Interlocking. The bike pedestrian bridge and the rail bridge will not be constructed at the same time because you probably saw how we've talked a lot about it, how tight of an area it is. They actually will use the rail bridge in order to construct the bike pedestrian bridge. So you cannot build them simultaneously. Did I get that right? Ish, okay.
The thrust of part of my question was, although it was implied, is if people in the neighborhood, of course, we hope that this is totally theoretical, but if people in the neighborhood have cause to believe that some construction requirement in terms of noise or whatever is being violated by the contractor. One, is the contractor in charge of the site and the one who would be reported, or is it VPRA who would be reported? And two, to which entity of government would the person who believes, or maybe its own neighborhood who believe, that some construction requirement is being violated, to whom would they report that?
So
will that be posted prominently in many places so that they will know that?
Yeah, so great question. So it's the noise ordinances are governed by district law. So while we are a Virginia authority constructing the project, the laws themselves that we're adhering to are district laws. So the reporting would be the reporting that you would do for any project that's violating those laws, which I believe was through DCRA. So I assume that's now through Department of Buildings, because I don't know if this is too technical, but what was formerly DCRA got broken into 2 pieces. And so I believe that those noise ordinances are now governed by the Department of Buildings in the district. So that is that is who my understanding is that is who enforces those laws. So while we are a Virginia authority, the laws are the laws of the district. Now, as far as who is responsible for that, I believe that would be who is holding the permits with the Department of Buildings. In that case, it would be the builder. However, if you contact VPRA, we will respond, right? We will not say, oh, well, the builder's the permit holder. So this information with how to reach us, that's what I would recommend that you do. Because ultimately, the project is our responsibility.
Naomi,
Yep.
I have a question online. Thank you so much. We do have comment cards. If you have a question and it's a pretty long question, if you want to write it down, just raise your hand and we'll bring it to you as well. I'm going to go to some of the Q&A online. We do have a comment that says, thank you so much, excellent presentation. Thank you, John and Christian. We appreciate that. Lauren Schumer, for the Rowan community, will bridge arches be closed off and how will that information be conveyed? Will there be construction barges and or booms in place? And if so, can they be lit more than the minimum USCG, U.S. Coast Guard requirement, so they're visible in the dark for river users out before dawn or after sunset? Thank you for that question.
I didn't quite catch the first part of it. It was something about closures.
Okay. For the rowing canoeing community, will bridge arches be closed off and how will that information be conveyed?
So portions of the Potomac that will be closed off are those outside the normal navigation channel. And those will all be marked with buoys, aids to navigation. The navigation channel will remain open. At one point in time, it will need to shift. That navigation channel will need to be shifted to the span directly south of it, which is the alternate location. And then the next part of the question was about lighting, I believe. That's not something I'm familiar with. I do know from work on the Potomac, we do have to be cognizant of our lighting as we're working under the flight path into national. Oh, thank you so much. So, yeah, it says here, can it be lit more than the minimum U.S. Coast Guard requirements so they're visible in the dark and river users?
Definitely something we're going to.
Yeah, we'll look into that. It's not. Yeah, exactly. We're more than a year from being in the river for actual construction. This summer we'll be out doing test piles, which is a very smaller presence on the river.
Thank you. We have one more question. What are the construction bid schedules for both South and North projects in regards to steel fabrication? What is the design life of the bridges? Thomas Stain, and that's a question online.
Okay, I will take a shot at this one. The construction bid schedules for both projects. So the North construction, or the North package construction bid is, we came to conclusion on that in January of 24.
Talking about steel or steel?
In regards to steel fabrication. Yeah, maybe Tom. Yeah, Tom, why don't you come up? And the design, I'll just share while he's coming up, the design life of the bridges are 100 years for the rail bridge and bike path bridge.
All right, I'll try and be as clear as I can, keeping in mind that I can only speak on behalf of the North package. The South package I think it was indicated that this was representation here from the North package. I think it was communicated that this is a progressive design build project, and that is a two-phase project. The first portion is advancing design development and procuring very small packages to facilitate better understanding of the project so that we can arrive on the second stage, which is negotiation for final design and construction. So we are on the I would like to say on the cusp of finalizing an agreement with VPRA, and when I say we, I mean the Skanska Flatiron joint venture, which is in control of the North package. Not until we achieve commercial agreement will we be going out to secure subcontractor and major vendor purchases. There's also a period after a notice to proceed for the second phase of the work where we have to complete the design. Without getting into great detail, if we're right now taking a look at a commercial close in the next couple of months, we'll need 2 or 3 months to finish up some of the design packages, and some of the bridge packages might go a little bit further. Our steel packages will be spread out. There are 4 bridges. One of the major structures is the I-395 structure. That will probably be, I'd say, third quarter of this year. And then Ohio Drive Southwest East and Washington Channel will be somehow or other dovetailed into that time period as well. We do have opportunities for various services up and down the spread of the work activities and supplies to the job site. I'm sure you can find that contact information through a link on this particular job, and we will have some outreach events as well to better communicate the opportunities for procurement.
Thanks, Tom.
Oh. You don't want my safety glasses.
All right, so we have another question from online. I'll read that and then I'll go to any questions in the room. I have passed out comment cards, so if you have any comments or questions, just raise your card up. We can read the question for you, or you can talk on the microphone. So James says, how will rail traffic across Main Avenue be maintained during construction of the new railroad bridge across Main Avenue?
So our plan is to maintain 2 tracks at all times that are open across Main Avenue, and that is one of the portions of why Scott went through the very detailed plan for the maintenance of traffic on the road, is in order to phase construction in a way that we are able to maintain those 2 tracks. It will require building a temporary bridge and track across Main Avenue, and that's on the west side of the corridor. And at that time, we will be able to demolish one of the existing bridges over Main, even though it's a common structure, a common through plate over Main Avenue. We're going to have to sever that in half in order to maintain one of the existing tracks and bridges, while then building another a bridge adjacent to the one on Main. So again, we'll maintain 2 tracks across Main Avenue at all times during the project.
All right, do we have any other questions? If you raise your hand, okay, thank you.
So in your can you all hear me? No, use the mic. In your consideration of citizens and stakeholders, would you please add the people who live in the apartment close to there? Because we can be your eyes and ears and give help. And would you please also give us then the numbers we can directly contact the district, somebody who will be a live person other than just an answering machine? That would be most helpful. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that question. Do we have any more comment cards? I passed out a few. I see some folks writing. Do you want to answer your question now? It was already answered. Okay, so we'll collect those at the end. I don't see any more questions online. Rachel, do we have any more questions? No. Meredith, do you want to close this? Have any closing comments?
Sure. I just want to note that you will get, if you call this phone number and this email address, you will get a live response. Even if there's not someone there at the moment, somebody will call you back, someone will reply to your email. So those are really your best contact numbers. So we appreciate you giving us feedback along the way, letting us know how it goes. We want to be in touch with you, and we want to minimize any disturbances along the way. So thank you for being here tonight, and please keep in touch with us.
Thank you.
Naomi.